Okay. दो सेकंड में पहले ही पूछ सकते हो इसका तो 6 मेरे को तो पूछने का हक नहीं है आपको राइट से कौन से ले लेते
Okay, so
बहुत लोग दे सकते हो
okay, let's start. Okay, so before getting into the diet, let's digress a bit. So 500 years back, okay, till 500 years back, all of us were thinking that Earth is at the center and then Sun and all other planets are going around. So yeah, now we look at it, we laugh at it. Yeah, we have moved on. So Copernicus came. Actually, before Copernicus came, much before Copernicus came, looks like there were people telling that it is not the Earth which is at the center; it is the Sun which is at the center. But they were all frowned at. So we had to have Copernicus, Galileo, and Kepler and other guys to tell us that it is not the Earth; it is the Sun which is at the center. So, yeah, maybe at that time we didn't have internet and all those things. So now we will believe that we have internet, information have, and all those things, that we will not have any such misconceptions. Unfortunately, I believe we have a lot of such misconceptions in many of the fields. So one of them I believe is there in terms of diet. So yeah, I'm definitely not an authority or even an expert here. So I just started with some experiment. I read a lot of books. I saw a lot of videos. I went with some theory, which a few million people are following. So I'm just going to present what that theory is and what exactly it means. So I just followed that theory. So whatever I followed there, I'm just going to tell about that. So this is just a perspective which basically the so-called experts should be exposing us to, which it looks like is not happening. So at least I thought from my side I can do it. So finally it will be your call, whether you are convinced about the theory or not, whether you want to follow it or not, that is all up to you. So what I did is I just changed the content of the diet. I didn't change anything else, just what content that we will see. So whatever content it is, it's like you eat to satiety. It's like you don't starve yourself. Eat how much ever you want, eat that much. And not a single day of physical exercise I did. This was 4 months data I'm showing. 4 months I didn't do a single day of exercise. And every single day I was eating how much ever I want. I lost 11 kgs in 100 days. Okay, don't get carried away by this. This losing weight is just a small side effect of this diet. That is not the main reason why I want you to consider this. Okay, and of course I've been trying to do all this lipid profile test and other tests and to see if everything is normal. So those things are all normal.
They were abnormal earlier or they were normal earlier?
Sorry, what is it?
Earlier they were abnormal or?
Yeah, it was, some things were abnormal. Those things all became normal. Okay, so this is the only thing which I did. So based on this, whatever I'm going to talk is all about based on this. Okay, let's just see what is good about our diet. Yeah, we may not realize. So if you compare to 50 years ago or 100 years ago, or if you compare 20,000 years ago, definitely we have a lot more tasty food, variety, and all those things are there. So efficiency. So we are able to generate a lot of. Basically, we are able to grow whatever food we need. We are able to grow with much lesser resources. We are able to scale up to 7+ billion people. So yeah, maybe we'll have a lot of other good things about our diet, our current diet. So let's not talk about this much. Let us just talk about what is bad. So let's not even worry about how it affects the environment, whatever we are having now. Let us just talk about how our current diet affects our body. Okay, now Anybody? So whatever you think is bad with our current diet, you can tell us.
Everything.
Sorry?
Everything.
No, there's at least some specifics.
Lot of processed food we have.
Sorry?
Processed food actually. And
Processed food. Okay, what it causes. So what effects we have? So let's talk about effects.
Not like very less fiber in the food.
Okay. Yeah, finally what happens? So what is the impact? What effect we see? What bad effects we see?
Fat, cholesterol, sugar, everything is the effect of that.
Okay. Yeah, so there are a lot of things. I think we'll all agree on most of the things. Okay, before seeing all those problems, let us just consider weight gain and obesity. Okay, what causes weight gain, obesity, and all those things?
Eating more calories than you burn.
Okay, that is what I wanted. Thanks for giving that. Anything else? Okay, that's good enough. So let's continue from there. So eating more and exercising less. So that is what most of us think. And we see that a lot of us, maybe compared to earlier centuries, we have a lot of people who are gaining weight, and then compared to earlier years, definitely we are seeing a lot of people who are gaining weight. We are having a lot of people who are obese. So we think that most of the people tell that we eat more and we don't spend that. So we are not exercising enough. So the onus is on the individuals. So that is how it is seen. Most of the people see that we are eating a lot, we are not exercising. So what happens? It is accumulated in the body. That's how we gain weight, is what most of the people tell, most of the experts tell. So they say that you don't have enough self-control to eat less and exercise more. So that is how it is, but it is not true. It is definitely not true. Sorry, what is that?
This is what I wanted to say. More things to come.
Okay, so heredity. So this is another thing which they say. So yeah, genetics plays some part. So that is why we see same amount of food somebody is eating, they gain less weight. Other person is eating more, the same amount of food is gaining more weight. Some amount of genetics does play into picture, but that is not giving us a complete picture. Let us see why it is. Okay, now let's see the bigger picture. What is at stake? So India is the diabetes capital. Type 2 diabetes, if you see, India is the diabetes capital of the world. So we have 51 million people now, and then they are saying by 2030 we will have 87 million people having this. And similarly, heart diseases, we have 30 million people. And they say 1/3 of Indian adults have hypertension. And Alzheimer's again in India, but this is all India. And if you look at world data, there is not much difference. Even most of the countries in the world are struggling with these problems. So these problems are, if you see, are real big problems, right? So billions of lives are at stake. Maybe trillions of dollars. We are spending a lot of money on all of this, but we have not. I don't think we have solved this problem yet, right? I mean, we don't even see any indication that we will be able to solve these problems. That's why they are projecting that we will have these numbers increasing. So I believe that whenever we have a global problem and not many people are able to solve it, there is a big paradigm shift which has to happen. So until that happens, we won't be able to solve it. Okay, cancer is another thing. So okay, not all cancers, of course. Diet-related cancers, at least we see, that itself will be a big part. Okay, so okay, can anybody tell me what is good food here, what is bad food here?
Fruits
are good, okay.
and the last column. Dry fruits are just below.
What is it?
A combination.
Good in the sense, good to taste or good to? I'm sorry. Good for health. I'm sorry.
He thought by this time you have attuned to
Yeah, that is a mistake. I think I should have gotten it reviewed. Okay. Okay. So now we have thousands of researchers trying to see which food is good for health. Okay, for health. What do? So they go to the market, they take up these food items one by one, and then we know the problems which we saw, right? So they try to see what impact it has on our body. All these food items one by one, you can do controlled experiments and then see what fingerchips what kind of effect the fingerchips have on our body. What will fruits will have on our body? All those things, all those kind of all basic permutations, combinations. They do all the research. So if they do, that's what they will come up with. Whatever you said, they will say that fruits are good. They will say that whole grains, whole wheat bread is good. They will say that legumes are good. So finger chips are bad. Buns are bad. So sugar soda is bad. So that is the kind of thing. If you do research that way, you take up all of them and then you compare what effect it has on us. That is the that is the conclusion you will come up with. But assume you do the experiments on a different level. You may come up with a completely different result altogether. Of course, that is always there with all the things. But here, if you see, okay, so from that perspective, whatever I'm saying it, all these foods are bad. Okay, yeah, fruits, of course. So don't take it as it is. I'm not saying fruits are completely bad, but a lot of us have fruit bowls and all those things, thinking that they are good for our health. So we try to consistently, we try to have it every day, and then try to ensure that we are in good health. But that may not be true. Yeah, of course, I'm not saying we have to avoid fruits or any of the whole grain foods and all those things. But we'll have to see it from different perspectives. Let's see what it is. So macronutrients, if you see, yeah, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, at least all of us will have some idea. Micronutrients, of course, we are just seeing all simplified models, but for our discussion, I think that's good enough. So some people look at it at this angle. So yeah, of course, sugar coming from fruits and sugar coming from finger chips have different effects. It's not the same effect. But finally, our body at a higher level, if you see, our body just finally sees fats. Is it fat? Is it protein? Is it carbohydrate? It mostly sees it that way. So some people do a different kind of experiment. They see what happens if you get rid of proteins and just have the other things. What happens if you get rid of fats? What happens if you get rid of carbohydrates? That is very radical. If we say carbohydrates, get rid of carbohydrates, that would mean that most of the food which we eat, we have to get rid of. That is very radical. I don't even think most of the people would even accept such experiments. So now, okay, so let's not get into what research people did after this. Let's directly get into some specific things. Okay, what makes us fat? So if you just see the previous slide and then this slide, most of us will say that, okay, fat is there. You take dietary fat, food with dietary fat is there. And body, you take your tummy or anywhere you have body fat, you see fat is there. So that means what? You eat fat and then you get fat. So that is a point-to-point conclusion, right? And some people say that is not correct. You have to see it, right? Why is it that you eat fat, you will not get fat? You'll have to really consider it, right? But most of us don't consider it. So that is not true. Upfront, I'll tell you, eating fat. Okay, we have to get into some specifics. Let's do that. But eating fat itself doesn't make you fat. In fact, eating fat is not what makes you fat. Okay, what causes heart diseases? So this again, people say that you have somebody who has heart vessels. You go and see the heart vessels. You see that they had a block, they had plaques and all those things. what is that plaque made of? You see that cholesterol is there. Okay, cholesterol is what makes creates those heart diseases. Similarly, saturated fat. So they see that, okay, saturated fat is there in the blood and causes these problems. Okay, saturated fat is there in the diet. Okay, you eat saturated fat, you will get these heart diseases. That again is not true. Okay, type 2 diabetes. So this again, most of the people say that, yeah, of course, diet is one thing. You don't do physical activity, then you get type 2 diabetes. Okay, so this actually, at least some amount of truth is there, but it's not completely true. Yeah, physical activity helps in terms of reducing type 2 diabetes, what impact it on us, but that is also not completely true. Let's see that. Okay, this is the most important thing we have to see. What do carbohydrates do to us? Okay, so human body, so assuming we consider the what do we call it? Genus, homogeneous. So we've been homogeneous has been there at least for 2.6 million years. So we have been eating, at least till 12,000 years back, we have been eating mostly meat from the animals. And of course, here and there some carbohydrates, the tubes of potato and all those kind of things, but mostly it is meat. So that is what we've been eating. So our body has evolved. It has optimized to digest and burn meat. I mean, meat or whatever is there in animal meat.
If human beings came from monkeys, wouldn't our diet be closer to the prior diet?
So it looks like our body takes, in general, that's, I don't know, this is something which I read. So it takes 40,000 to 70,000 years. If you change something in the diet, it takes 40,000 to 70,000 years. So I'm saying monkeys, once they got down from the tree, it's like we got 2.6 million years. So 2.6 million years is multiple times bigger than 40,000 years. So it looks like our body has changed. Compared to what monkeys eat, the monkeys which are there in the trees eat, looks like our body has changed. That's what they say. So we are not designed. Okay, our body has, okay, if I say design, then God comes into picture. So I will say our body design has not evolved to consume carbohydrates regularly every day. And being carbohydrates as the major part of our diet. So that it was never evolved to do that. Okay. So now what? So we still, if you see the last 50-100 years, especially, yeah, after agriculture came in, things have changed. After agriculture came in, that's when we got carbohydrates into our diet. Especially in the last 50-100 years, it looks like we started consuming a lot of carbohydrates. Before that, it was not the case. So what happens is, you eat a lot of carbohydrates. Yeah, first of all, our body is not designed to eat carbohydrates. But assuming you eat, what happens is, yeah, your blood starts getting a lot of sugar, glucose. So we have to. It is designed such a way that you contain that glucose level. Whatever glucose level you have in your body, you have to contain it to some maximum level.
So why do you say so? Why is that our body not designed to take carbohydrates?
Yeah, I exactly don't know, but they say that the more glucose you have in your body, it starts affecting all the organs. So I don't know. So people who have type 2 diabetes, what are the organs getting affected? Your eyes gets affected, your kidney gets affected, even you get heart diseases. Yeah, why? Don't ask me. So I don't really know. But yeah, you should have some minimum level of sugar anyway. You should have some minimum level.
Why are you not supposed to? You said carbohydrates. We are not made for consuming carbohydrates or digesting carbohydrates.
Correct.
Why do you say so?
Yeah, let's see that. Yeah. We'll see one by one. So yeah.
So first is the question. Second bullet point, you should have put an indent, man.
Okay, so that is
Yeah, he knows next time when he presents, he has to get it.
yeah, I'll do that next time. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, that is separate. So first question is separate. So
Yeah.
forget about that now.
Okay.
So so glucose increases in your blood. So we have mechanisms. So it looks like we evolved mechanisms for that to keep it under some specific level. So what happens? So answer is insulin. So insulin is the answer for that. So you secrete more insulin. The pancreas secretes more insulin there. It tries to bring down the glucose level. So what does insulin do? It tries to store the glucose, whatever extra glucose you have in your body, in your blood, it tries to store it. So it can be stored in the individual cells, but there is a limit. Beyond that, what will happen? It will go and get stored in your liver. So liver again has some few tens of grams or few hundred grams max. That much it can store. And then what will happen? Beyond that, there is no space in the cells as well as the liver. So then what happens? It has to then convert it into fat. So that is adipose tissue. So your tummy and all the places where we store fat, that is what happens. So insulin, you have maxed out the glucose storage in all our liver and the body cells. It gets converted into adipose tissue, which is nothing but fat. It gets stored in the body. So after that, any extra glucose you have, what will happen? It has no other place to store. So it continuously gets converted into adipose tissue, or which is nothing but a kind of fat, and that's what happens. Not just that, that is one of the problems. That is one of the problems. So getting fat, gaining weight, all this is just one of the symptoms, one of the side effects. So insulin is like it overrides most of the hormones. So it's like it's given a higher priority. Insulin is given a higher priority compared to all other hormones. So it goes continuously. So if you see now, we are eating a lot of carbohydrates. So continuously from the birth we are doing this. So it keeps damaging. So it's a lot of insulin we secrete, it goes and damages. It causes inflammation. That is one of the problems. Inflammation is one of the problems. It causes a lot of inflammation. Inflammation, once in a while, when you get infection or something, it is fine. But because of diet, actually, we cause this inflammation to happen a lot. Every meal, of course, every meal actually, it's like your body is going through a roller coaster. So you have a lot of carbohydrates in a meal. 2 to 3 hours, your body is subjected to a big roller coaster. Yeah, we don't get to know, of course. We just eat and then we can continue with our work. But our body is subjected to a big roller coaster. Every meal this is happening. You have a lot of carbohydrates. Every meal this is happening. And we do this for a few years. Yeah, 25 years, 30 years, until you become 30, 35, probably it is able to hold. But after that, it is unable to hold. So weight gain is just one of the side effects. So all these other diseases which we saw, most of them, of course, it's not everything which is happening because of diet, but most of them happens because of this cycle: eating carbohydrates, glucose increasing, insulin increasing so that it brings down the glucose level in the blood. So this is happening as a cycle. So
where does it cause inflammation?
So this insulin spike looks like it has to go everywhere so that it brings down the glucose level. That goes and causes all the inflammation.
The blood vessels.
Yes. Not just blood vessels. Yeah, of course. Wherever it is able to go, all the cells and blood, wherever it is going, it looks like it causes this. Next thing is LDL cholesterol. So we were talking about cholesterol, right? So cholesterol, if you see, so dietary cholesterol, generally whatever cholesterol you see in the eggs or anywhere else, all fat, all good sources, most of the sources dietary cholesterol, they are generally good. What cholesterol is bad? Okay, we hear about this HDL and LDL cholesterol. So they are all, if they are all coming from good sources, they are all good. There are some specific cholesterols being generated inside our body, especially the ones which are coming from carbohydrates. They are the ones which actually cause most of the problems. Carbohydrates. Okay, so this we don't even measure. If you see blood, we go and do blood profile, lipid profile. They don't even measure this. LDL cholesterol. What is the particle size? They don't measure it. But carbohydrates, whatever we eat, most of the carbohydrates, they generate this LDL cholesterol. They are the ones which go and form in the plaques in the blood vessels and
Carbohydrates
arteries.
create cholesterol. Carbohydrates just become
Yes.
glucose.
Looks like, yeah, that is only one of the things. Cholesterol also, it looks like gets generated, especially in the liver it goes and then it generates, it looks like. Yeah. There are very detailed information about all these things. If you want, you can go read the books. But at a high level, if you see, this is the cholesterol which causes all the problems, which comes from carbohydrates, which we don't even measure. The hormone roller coaster we saw. Okay. So this is the next big problem. So we get addicted. We get addicted to carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, that insulin spike we saw, right? Insulin spike, after the glucose level comes down, it then insulin also goes down. But after 5-6 hours, if you don't eat, you won't be able to think. Most of us, or most of the times, you won't be able to think. If you had carbohydrates for the previous meal, insulin spike happened and then it came down, and then few hours later, if you just think, if you will just automatically feel hungry. The body automatically will feel hunger, and then the insulin, you just think you are hungry and then you have to eat, then insulin automatically goes up. And then it will tell you, okay, you just go and eat immediately. So we basically just get addicted. So even if we have enough glucose stored in the liver on body cells, it asks you to go and eat. So what do? We just go and eat. And we mostly eat carbohydrates. It tries to get stored. And yeah, if there is not enough storage in the liver, it gets converted into fat. So it becomes a cycle. So we basically get addicted. So every few hours you have to keep eating, irrespective of whether you have enough fuel source in your body or not. Okay. So what physical exercises do to our body? Okay. So the insulin we talked about, right? Insulin spike. It is only maybe 30 years, 35 years. After that, our body looks like unable to hold it. So it goes and it causes something. They talk about something called metabolic syndrome. So it is only to a level to which our body can respond to insulin. After that, what will happen? They won't respond. The sensitivity level comes down. Then what will happen? The glucose level will go up. So what pancreas has to do? It has to secrete more insulin, so that the guys who are not sensitive, the cells which are not sensitive, they will become sensitive, and then they will store the glucose, extra glucose, and then the glucose level comes to the normal level in the blood. But there is only a limit to which it can go. So once the maximum limit is hit, pancreas can secrete only insulin to some extent. Once that limit is reached, what will happen? It cannot do anything more. Then what will happen? Glucose goes up. So that's what is called as type 2 diabetes. So that's how we get type 2 diabetes. So physical exercises, if you do, what happens? It increases the sensitivity again. Our body cells, the sensitivity increases again. So sensitivity increases, then the same amount of insulin will be able to help. So that's what happens. So what are we doing with physical exercises? Whatever damage is being done with carbohydrates, we are actually trying to reverse it. We are able to reverse it with physical exercises. Of course, there is only to some extent you will be able to do it with physical exercises. So with carbohydrates, we do a lot more damage. With physical exercises, we revert it to some extent. So that is why people find that physical exercises are good. But if we don't even do the damage using carbohydrates and do the physical exercises, it is even better. Even better. So we don't even, basically, if you don't eat carbohydrates, we don't even end up in that situation. So this one actually I didn't even want to discuss the solutions because I wanted you to convince yourself first that carbohydrates is a real problem. Regularly having carbohydrates is a real problem. But let's just briefly look at it. Okay, yeah. So this is what we've been having all along. So high carb, low fat. Some researcher in 1960s called Ansel Keys, they said that fat is bad, and then we started consuming fat. That is a big problem. On top of it, we started eating a lot of carbohydrates. That is even bigger problem. Of late, researchers found that carbohydrates are problems. They say, okay, rice is not good, wheat is not good, reduce it. So they say low carb, low fat. Where are we supposed to get fuel from? But unfortunately, low carb, low fat is not low carb, low fat. So if we say low carb, low fat, we invariably end up having high carb, low fat. So low carb, low fat is also high carb, low fat. So the solution, of course, There can be other perspectives. You have to see all of that. Low carb, high fat is one of the solutions. There may be other solutions. This is one of the solutions we will follow. So you reduce carbohydrates, eat fat, more fat. Of course, not all fats. You should not eat trans fats for sure. But otherwise, of course, there are some more things, some more intricacies you have to look at. But otherwise, all saturated fat, mono unsaturated fat, eggs you can have how much you want. So there are things you have to look at. But this is essentially what you have to do. So some people follow paleo diet. You might have heard about it. Paleo is like going exactly to what we've been doing before 12,000 years. Eat meat and then this tubers and that's it. So that is one of the things you can do. Other thing is Atkins diet. So there was a guy called Atkins who did it in 1960s. So here we don't even need to have paleo where you have some carbohydrates. You don't even need to have carbohydrates if you are not really interested. I am not going to go into the details anyway, don't worry. So ketogenic diets, this again I am not going into the details. So Atkins diet, in a way it's called as ketogenic diets. Let's quickly see what it is. So this is the kind of thing it is. You minimize to 5% of carbohydrates. This is just a rough idea, just to give a rough idea. Protein 15 to 25%. You don't want to have more protein also, because if it looks like if you have more protein beyond what is needed for your body building, in the sense our body needs some minimum, the 20 amino acids, right? Out of which 9 have to be coming from the diet. So beyond that, if you eat, protein also will get converted into glucose, which again will be like having carbohydrates. You don't want to do that as well. So protein also has to be limited. So fat is where you want to derive your energy from. Of course, so I think by now you would have made it out. So it's very easy to follow for non-vegetarians. Non-vegetarian, you can eat meat, how much ever you want, meat you want, you can eat. Nothing will happen. Yeah, but don't have biryanis. Biryanis have rice. So yeah, so you'll have to see how to manage it. Vegetarian again, so we have different definition. Vegetarian, all over the world they say vegetarian is having vegetarian food plus dairy plus eggs. So we call it as without eggs, just the dairy and veg. So even vegetarian, if you have eggs and dairy, it is very easy to follow. That's what I am doing. I am a vegetarian, so yeah, but I have added eggs. Occasionally I have a non-vegetarian also.
How can you be vegetarian?
I'm a born vegetarian converted non-vegetarian. Yeah, I just have.
Feels like vegetarian.
Yeah, it is my team who practice me to eat non-vegetarian. It's not me. Yeah, it is very difficult for vegans. They say it is possible to do. Vegans who eat no dairy, no eggs, they eat only vegetables, pulses and all those things. For them it is very, very difficult. Yeah, so let me not get into details. If you really want specifics, we need to have another session. So that if there is interest, we will do that. Okay, I don't really think we have enough time. Okay, so it is either or. You cannot say that I just reduce carbohydrate and then I'm done. That will help to some extent, but there are two modes. You either burn glucose or you burn fat. So fat gets converted into something called ketones. So that is a different thing altogether. So if you are burning fat, which is converted to ketones, and you are burning ketones, that is a completely different mode. So if you have to get into that, there are some things which you have to follow properly. You have to understand and then follow properly. Of course, so this burning fat. So this mode actually, if you see, it is not new. This has been used 100 years back. I think there are some children who will have epilepsy. They are being, even today, there are a lot of places they treat them with the ketogenic diets. Type 2 diabetes, if you don't need to have medications. If you take this diet, you won't need the medications at all. Your body will come back. And of course, cancer. So cancer thrives on, cancer cells need glucose to survive. So cancer, you will be able to, if you get rid of carbohydrates to the maximum, automatically you are depriving the cancer cells. So one thing is cancer you will avoid. So even if you have cancer cells, they will automatically be killed because they don't get the glucose, whatever they need. So yeah, how it is, I don't know, but that's what they say. So, there is other thing. Okay. So spreading wise, Sweden is the first country to adopt this diet. 2013 they have done it. So I'm hoping that this will spread to all other places. Yeah, otherwise I don't see any option. At least I don't see any option. Whatever problems we saw there, the diabetes, heart disease, and all those things, I don't think there is any other way to address them until we address the diet. So I'm hoping that in another 20, 30 years it will spread. Of course, hurdles. So I actually changed the title. I said, why you cannot follow this diet? There are so many hurdles. But then I thought at least I'll change it as hurdles. So the first thing is you will not be able to convince yourself. Even if you convince yourself, you will not be able to convince your family members. If you start following it even beyond all this, you will be frowned at. It will be like becoming a pioneer, because nobody in the society will be doing this, or at least now. So if you have to do this, it's like you are becoming a pioneer. You have to invest a big chunk of your time, at least the initial months. The taste and variety actually can become a problem, because we don't have many people, recipes and all those things. Until we have a lot of people following it, I think it can be a problem. Most of the doctors won't know this. This is a big problem. So if you have some issues, and go and tell doctor that you are eating this, they'll say first change your diet and then come. They'll send you that. So that is a big problem. Yeah, I think that's all I had. So
we have most doctors, or did you find some doctors who?
I don't know if that. Yeah, I thought I put it in a positive way. I don't know if that. It will be very difficult. By looking at it, I just see that a few million people are following this diet. Doctor says I don't think.
And so what is the diet?
You want
a session? How many of you want a session?
No session, we want a
session, just
That is not. That's what I don't want to give it, because changing from the glucose burning mode to fat mode, some things you have to take care of, which I need another 20 minutes to cover. 30 minutes I couldn't have covered.
So we can eat French fries, cheese, butter.
No, French fries has potato, right? Potato is full of starch, full of glucose.
Who can have that for that?
So cheese, butter is fine.
Cheese, yes. Butter, yes. Coconut, yes. Meat, yes, huh?
Meat.
Meat.
Meat as in what?
Meat, how much ever meat you want, you can eat.
How do you consume
it? What I do is, I go to restaurants, I eat starters. Starters they have, right? I just consume starters, curd, and that's it. Lassi or curd or something like that.
Actually, WHO's recent recommendation recently it was certain types of meats are bad.
Which I love. I really love barbecue. Yeah, back on I say that.
That's what I'm afraid to
You told that it will take 40,000 years for our body to evolve to something.
Yes.
So if we keep eating carbohydrates, after 40,000 it may
Yes,
get
absolutely.
They are breaking the chain in fact. Now if you try,
You are ready to do that, so that you are gram.
They will be happy eating carbohydrates, right?
There are even shorter ways. There are genetics, there are a lot of research going on. Right? Why can't we re-engineering ourselves instead of evolution taking care of it? We re-engineer our genome so that we can eat all the carbohydrates and things. But until then, you'll have to, you will not be able to.
you hardly get to live for the 50, 60 years.
Already 50 years. Why can't you think about it?
Okay, so yeah, I think these are some of the books which I read. So first book is about that is an interesting book, philosophically what mistakes they're making that he talks about. Second book is core technical. If you want to really understand how it happens in your body, that one you can go for. Third one is about practicing. How exactly you can. There are 4 different stages they explain. How can you move to the bad burning mode? That you can see. And then I have written some couple of blog posts. You can just see it if you want. Yeah. That's Yeah, so my only thing was I wanted to expose you all to this. I wanted you at least to know that this is there.
So fruits are not a must.
Fruits are actually, if you are having regularly, it's actually a problem. You once in a while you can have, but you don't want to have it. Okay, so fruits, especially the ones with fructose, you may want to reduce or avoid, because like Steve Jobs, if you know Steve Jobs' biography, if you are read, he was eating fruits only for a lot of time, and they say that fruits can cause pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't take this as a reason.
One of case here.
What about that? An apple a day keep doctor away.
But yeah. So that's what. So just don't quote me to say that 4 fruits are not there. Yeah, you may want to just reduce it.